Welcome to another video, and today we are going to be learning more about Git. In the last video we had installed Git on our machine, and then we had navigated our file system, so we kind of got a crash course as to what Git can do. Now if you're just joining me for this video, I've included the last video right here so that you're able to see what we went over. If you're new to this, I would suggest going back and watching this. This is the previous video I've made, and so my curriculum will kind of follow this structure. It will be almost like a ladder, so you can climb your way up via Notion. You will be able to see the previous video, and I haven't gotten as far as how to go the other way if you're trying to go ahead, but for now just stay with me while we are all figuring this out. So we learned a little bit about bash last time, right? You know, just kind of a review. I'm navigating my file system right now. I'm in the desktop, correct? I'm going back, and then I'm going back to the desktop, and we have created file systems like this. Something of the sort, right? Does that look familiar? Wonderful. Now, today we're actually going to be making a GitHub account, and we are going to be pushing files to GitHub. And so what GitHub is it's like a bank where we can store code. And the reason we want to do that is so that it doesn't cluster our machine, and that also we can take it further when we are practicing version control. So we learned a little bit about navigating our file system and creating files, manipulating files, things of that nature, but we are actually going to be practicing the very minor introduction to version control. I'm not going to get into branching or reverts or anything like that today, so it'll be pretty softcore, but not as softcore as last time. Okay, so yeah, once again, here's the previous Notion. Here is the previous video. You can get caught up and meet me back here at this point in the video if you would like to. But the first thing we want to do is make sure that we installed Git, right? And last video I walked y'all through that, but let's go ahead and do that. So we go git -- version or git -- v. And that will tell you what version of Git you're running, and followed by the operating system. So this will work on both Mac and Windows. So make sure that you do get this, and if not, go back to the other video and make sure that you installed Git correctly, because this won't work at all if you didn't. So the next thing we're going to be doing is connecting our machine to GitHub. Well, first, what is GitHub? GitHub is a provider of internet hosting for software development and version control using Git. It's like a bank where we can store our code and take it further than just letting the code reside on our machines. It's very important. I mentioned that last video. Version control is very, very important, and it's very valuable. So what is a GitHub repository? It's a directory or storage space where your projects can live. Once again, it's like a bank. You may store your code and take it further. The actual location where your code resides is called a repository. People call it a repo for short. Now, the first thing you need to do to continue with this video is actually make a GitHub account. And so like here, I'll actually sign out so that like you can see what it looks like. You're gonna hit sign up right here, and then you're gonna create a username, and make this easy for yourself. You know, like if you're trying to get employed, like make it your name. You know, the email address, your primary email address, and yeah. So run through this, and then meet me back in the video. And then in the meantime, I'm actually going to get logged in again. Okay. All right. What did I do there? Okay, sorry about that. All right, now let's go ahead and continue. Okay, now this is going to be something that you need to pay attention to because it's already configured on my machine. So it's going to not be configured on yours if this is the first time you're doing this. So it's not that hard. I feel like the documentation might make it seem harder than it is, especially if you've never done anything like this before. But if you had no problem navigating through your file system last time, you will have no problem doing this. And so I've laid it all out for you right here. Just as the last video, you will have these notes. It will be in the description of the video. They are for you, and all viewers may have them. Now, we are going to be, oh, and also verify your email address. That's another thing. For some reason, I feel like that would interfere with what we're doing. So I think there's an option to verify your email address as well once you do make an account. Upload a profile picture. Once again, if you're trying to get employed, get a good headshot. It's like LinkedIn for software engineers or developers, or MySpace, Facebook, what have you, whatever you would like to think of it as. So we're going to be opening Bash, and we're going to be configuring the name, our username that we have just created on our machine. So essentially just think of it as we are logging in through Git. We made an account through GitHub. We went ahead and did that. Now we're going to be logging in through Git, right? So we have this git config global username, and I'm actually just going to grab that. I was going to type it, but here, let me just do that. We'll make it a little easier, I suppose. So right click to put it in here. Oh, it is not doing it. Oh, whatever. I'll just type it. Okay. Now, do you see how it gives me this? It's giving me this username. So when you're configuring it, you're going to need to put it in quotations like that. And so, like, if yours is Jeffrey Star, you're gonna go ahead and put that. All right. I don't know why it would be Jeffrey Star, but yeah. So you're going to configure it, and then you use this command that I just punched in to confirm that that's what it is. So make sure that it's right. Like, double check. It won't work if it's not correct. And then the next thing you're doing, and also guys, so you see how I'm kind of I'm rummaging through all these git commands. I'm pressing the up arrow and the down arrow key. That is what I'm doing. That is how I am like rummaging through all this old stuff. So like when I press the up key, I just typed git config -- global username. And so when I press the up key, it actually saves state, and I'm able to do that. And that's something I forgot to mention last video, and it's very important to know how to do that because it can save you a lot of, not a lot of time, but it can save you time. Now, I'm also going to config my email address. So I go git config -- global user.email, and then once again, I already have it configured. You're going to put it in double quotes like that, just like in the Notion. Do you see this there? And you will be configuring your email address, okay? And so there's my email address, and come to think of it, I'm not sure if those double quotes are necessary. Try it both ways. If it doesn't work with double quotes, just go ahead and try it without the quotes at all. It should work though with the quotes. I vaguely remember doing it. That was 3 years ago or something like that. So yeah, after you do that, right, we're right here in the video at this point. You've entered your username that's on GitHub, and then you've entered your email that is also associated with your GitHub. You want to make sure your credentials are correct, so we're going to double check, and we are going to be using this git config -- list, I believe. Okay, this config credential merge tool. That, no, that did not. Okay. Come to find out, that is actually not a good way to confirm that that worked. In fact, I'm almost stuck frozen. Oh, okay, yes, here it is. It actually is. It was amongst all this other Git jargon. I wasn't able to see it, but here it is. See this user.name, user.email, able to do that, and I'm just going to close that because that's annoying. I'm having an issue keeping them separated today, but anyways, I'm still using this in place of PowerPoint. You might see PowerPoints later. It might be better. For right now, I'm doing this though. So bear with me. Sorry if this is not efficient or the words aren't big enough. I'll figure out a way to do it very sleek and smooth. So the output should match your credentials, which it did. It gave us that long list of Git syntax or whatever it was. And okay, and so this might be a little bit confusing. Like, you input that data, right? Like your username, and you input your email address. Well, actually, there's like this internal clock ticking right now. It's set for 15 minutes. And as you set, you logged in basically, but in like 14 minutes, 30 seconds, or 14 minutes, it will actually just time out and it won't even like remember that. And so like if you're on a company computer, that might be like something that like you need to be doing. But I own this computer. This is like what I am going to be coding on, right? So I'm not trying to log in every time. And in order for me to do that, I actually need to run this line of code right here, this git config, and then we seek out the credential helper to store our credentials. And to do that, you copy this line of code, okay, right? And then you paste it in Bash. And I'm not going to run it because, once again, I've already done this. And so you go here and you run this line of code, and it will store your credentials after you pull, sorry. So you then run git pull after you seek the manager to store your credentials. And then it won't have you do that every time you need to make an adjustment with version control. There won't be this internal clock ticking. And we could go into another way of doing this, but for right now, I think that's a simple way of solving that issue. Like, you can actually set the time. You can put a parameter that says like it can only be accessed during the work day. So like if you're a CTO, you might want to only allow access for 8 hours while developers are at work from like 8 to 5. It just depends what you're doing. So you could look into that if you do want to set a time limit. After you run git pull, you won't have that internal clock ticking. This is important. This is kind of just like a disclaimer. You will have no idea what an npm module is at this point. It's you don't really need to worry about that for the time being. Really, it's just a disclaimer saying that in the internal file system where Git is located, it will actually store this information. So and I also included this because some of you at this point in the video may be like, oh, wait a second, I want to change my password. You can do that, okay? You just need to change your password manually on GitHub and then git pull twice. But if you're cool with that, and just to let you know, I have never changed my password. I have done many things with version control. I've never had to. But I'm also not downloading malicious npm modules. I'll get into that later. So you've stored your credentials at this point. You won't have to log in every time you use version control. Now, we're going to make a repository to clone on our machine. So at this point, we've just done very minimal things visually, and you'll get to see why this is important when we do this. So there's two ways to do it. Well, there's actually three, but we're just gonna talk about two. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to our GitHub, and then over here where it says repositories, we are going to make a repository. So we put new, I already have some right here, you can kind of see. And what this is I'm storing code. I'm storing code in this like cloud-based data bank that allows me to store code and take it much further. Like you can actually host sites statically after you have made an HTML file that resonates with the structure of HTML file. You can actually host it through GitHub statically for free. So you're going to come up with a name, and we will name this the very first repo. Okay, it's changed over the years, naming conventions, things and that. It likes dashes and lowercase letters, from what I understand. We are making a repository for a tutorial video. Awesome. Now you have an option for it to be public or private. I always make mine public. The beautiful thing about software is a lot of it is public. A lot of it is open source. A lot of us tend to help each other. It's very unlike any other career path. You know, such as GitHub itself is built on the value that that we share knowledge. So it's important to realize that when you're deciding whether it's public or private. If it's a really, you know, a dear app to you that you've wanted to make for a long time, you may want to make it private. But let's go further. You don't have to add a README file. We will, just because I want y'all to see the visual aspect of like what this is doing. So I'm gonna add a README file. We're not going to add a .getignore because where we're at does not call for that at the moment, but later on we will. We're going to choose a license. I won't get into all this, just choose MIT, just for that one more visual thing. And I did say we're not gonna get into branching, so this will set main as the default branch right here. This has to do with branching. In the next video, I might get into branching. We might lock the repository, but for right now, we're not going to do any of that. So click Create Repository, correct? And it created this repository, and this might not mean much to you at this point. So the very first repo, we are making a repository for a tutorial video, correct? We go up here to this green code button, right? And then we are going to grab this HTTPS link, just like that. And you can do it another way. You could do it with SSH and make it somewhat encrypted and go into the bin. That's kind of a little bit more complex for what I'm trying to show everyone right now, although I have done that before too. So if y'all would like me to make a video on that, I possibly can. We have this copied to our clipboard, correct? And refer to the Notion at this time as well too. I have actually included screenshots of what this process that I just walked through will look like, right? We just named the repo. We gave the repo a description. We decided whether it was going to be private or public. We added a README file, which is optional. We chose a license, which is optional. We copied the HTTPS link. Okay, so we're halfway there. I know it feels like we've done nothing, but yeah, once again, be patient. We are close to the visual aspect of what we are doing. So we have navigated into the desktop. No, we have not done that. Okay, and I am going to once again minimize this, kind of like I did last video. Okay, let me see. I'll just leave it like that. Okay. And I have that link copied to the clipboard. So the first thing we want to do is we want to initialize the repository. Now you haven't really used Git up until this point. Like last video, you were literally just navigating through the file system. So this is actually going to be the first time that you're using Git. Last video was just to get you familiar with the file system. So we go git init, and that's the way that I was taught. Okay? So we go git init, and then we go git clone, then we insert that link. Now, did you see it appear right there? You know, very similar to the last video where we created a folder and it showed up on the desktop. We just did this again, but now we're using the internet. So do you see how it kind of meshes together? Anyways, it's really interesting. And also you won't have this master right here actually just like mess something up that I need to like fix, which I will after this video. I'm not gonna worry about that right now though. So I'm actually going to navigate into the very first repo, and then we're going to be using another command that that is from the last video. Okay, so I'm opening this with code, and it's going to open my text editor. Okay, now what that license is, here's this license. It did all of this for us with just a few clips, and the copyright. I really can't explain any of this to you. I don't know if it has to do with Creative Commons and Schwartz. I can't remember his first name, but basically you're entitled to this. Like whatever you work on, you're able to use this. In fact, you can read it as use, copy, modify, merge, publish, distribute, sublicense, things of that sort. So it's kind of cool. Here's a README. We wrote this on GitHub. Now, the next thing I want to do is open up the terminal in VS Code. It actually has an integrated terminal. And so on Mac, you can actually, what would it be? I think it's, you'll have to do something like this. Open an integrated terminal. You right click on one of the files that are in here, and it's going to open up this integrated terminal. On Windows, you can press Control backtick, which is to the left of the 1, and it will open it automatically for you. And I actually don't know the equivalent on Mac, so I don't want to tell people that command. Although I'll get familiar with it, no worries. So we're inside this repository. We created a repository, and we can't do much with this. All there is a license and a README. Like that really has no capability or power whatsoever. So the next thing we are going to do is something that we learned in the last video as well. So we are going to be creating a hypertext markup language file, a cascading style sheet file, and a JavaScript file. Last video I did it one by one. I went touch index.html, touch style.css, and touch script.js, but we're actually going to do this all in one line right here. And so while doing that, it created these files for me. Okay, so here we are. We are in an HTML file. And I was debating whether or not to use this for this reason. Now, so Emmet is this helpful tool that you use in Visual Studio Code, where it can kind of complete code for you. So I actually was really debating on whether using VS Code at first or not, because I think it was really important for me to like type everything out at first, but just for the sake of like showing you how easy it is, I'm actually just going to hit this exclamation point, which gives you an HTML boilerplate. I'm closing the integrated terminal so that you're able to see. Now, I am going to put my, my website, and then in here, I'm going to put my website, and we are once again not going to get into all of this. I figure I could just, you know, kind of show you, right? I'm pressing Alt B. You could do it. Oh, I need to save it. Sorry about that. I was like, where is it? Okay, so I'm going to do that again. Alt B. There's this newspaper-looking website. Nothing real fancy. So I just wanted to get that across that you'll be able to make a website very soon if you just keep up with me. I'll get into hosting and everything too. It'll be cool. So just because we're here, I'm actually going to write a line of CSS as well too. So H1 stands for heading, or H1 stands for heading 1. We're not gonna get too into this, but I will just do this just because we're here. And I'm not going to write any JavaScript though. I think that would actually, oh, okay, I did not link the file. Okay, so to link the file, we are actually going to go link CSS, and we could have written CSS inside of this file, but for the time being, I want everyone to get used to making files through the terminal. I think that it's very helpful. And so I just added this red color to my text. It's pretty elementary, but we'll get through how to do cool stuff and make things move. And I don't know, if you're a photographer, you can make a gallery or something. It'll be awesome, to say the least. So let's go back to VS Code. This sidebar right here, I'm pressing Control B to close that. You can also do it manually like that, but yeah. So what else was I doing? Oh yeah, we are pushing to Git. That's the entire purpose of this video. So if you've followed me to this point, you have an HTML file, you have a style.css file, you have a JavaScript file, and you have created this repository, and it is now local on your machine, although you created it on GitHub. Now, how do we get it back to GitHub? Are we going to upload each file? Are we going to zip it up in a Google Drive link? Or like, are we going to email it? Like, how are we going to do that? It's very simple, actually. With version control, it's very simple. So when I go git add dot, it's going to add everything. And it's going to stage that. And behind the scenes, it is actually storing all of these, and just storing all of these files we have created. Now, notice how index.html, script.js, and style.css are kind of, how would I say, highlighted, or not as highlighted as license and readme. And that is because license and readme are already up there, and we haven't made any changes to them. So staged for changes to our repository that is named, the very first repo is going to be index.html, license. Just the MIT license and the README file, okay? And so we are going to make a commit. And what this is it's just like a message, okay? And this is required. You have to do it. Your computer will do weird stuff if you just try to do commit, git commit -m. So the very first commit for our very first repo. And then we go git commit, and it is now ready to be pushed. So notice how it's unhighlighted. It is ready to be pushed back up to GitHub, right? Now, let's go ahead and do that. We are going to go git push, and this is all in the Notion too, guys. I've written everything out over there, but I want the screen to be full of this terminal right now. As opposed to this one, just because this one's kind of annoying. It's just like floating everywhere, and so that's my issue with that one. It is better for our purpose right now to use this. Now, I use this git push command, and don't worry about any of this for the time being. Like, we could actually like click on that and go, and actually we will do that. Yeah, we're gonna open it. Sorry if it made a weird noise. I need to disable that. And here it is. Like, we just sent all three of these files here super fast. So in the first video, when it said it was efficient and fast, it's not kidding. When you write 1,000 lines of code and you can send it in 3 commands, it's actually very powerful. So here's this HTML that I wrote. Here's this line of cascading style sheets. I haven't written any JavaScript, but it's still there. And we have created a repository, and we have actually put files into it locally and then sent it back up to GitHub. And that's a pretty big step, especially if you've only seen 2 videos, or the first video, and we're in the midst of this one right here. Now, say we want to say my website is now changed, okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and press save. And I also wanted to download extensions this video, but once again, I don't want my videos to be too long, so I'm actually going to minimize this one. We're still going to do a few things though. Okay, so now we have went ahead and made a change. We made a change to our HTML file. So we're actually going to run through that process again. Now, do you see how I typed that out? Remember, we can use the up arrow key, right? And then we are going to actually type that one out. So I added it again, correct? The new commit, okay? And then we push again. Cool, now let's go there. Open. And let me see if I remember how to, this is kind of cool feature that, I don't know if everybody knows about this. What is it? I don't remember what it was. I can actually open up a text editor in here. No, is this right here? No, okay, I'll get into that later. I'll look into how to do it. It can kind of open up a VS Code. Here, I'll have that prepared for the next video. But so here is the very first commit, here is the new commit, and here's the initial commit. So you can see these 3 changes. This is the initial commit where we first created everything. Here's the very first commit, which actually wasn't the very first commit. Sorry about that. I was trying to make this pretty eloquent, but kind of messed that up, but whatever, it's okay. And then here's the 3rd commit. Now, I'm actually going to go to my homepage. In fact, I kind of wanted to navigate around GitHub and show y'all some stuff, but I didn't really get to do that. Now, yeah, that's me. Y'all have probably never seen me at this point. That's what I look like. And here is the contributions we've made today. This is like this flow chart of how hard you're working, which is something other people will look at too. Like if they have a developer or software engineer interviewing you, they might very well look at this. So it's important to stay kind of active. And I do, more or less. Let me see if I can go to a time where I was very active, maybe in 2019, 2018, something of the sort. Yeah. Anyways, so this keeps track of your commits, and it kind of shows how hard you're working.